JRE number 1169. Nick Bostrom explains why there's a real chance we're living inside a simulation, not the original universe.
But ultimately, is it making people happier right now? Most technology, I would say no. In fact, you and I were talking about social media before this, about just not having Instagram on your phone and not dealing, and you feel better.
Yes, I think that one of the issues with social media that's been pointed out by many people is that I think maybe particularly Instagram, people look like they have a much better life than they really do.
Right.
So
by design.
Yeah, people are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. Even if they're not modifying the pictures, they're at least selecting the pictures for the best lighting, the best angle. So people basically seem they're way better looking than they basically really are.
Right.
And they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, there are all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking, and I'm not happy. So I must suck, and that's going to make people sad. So when in fact, those people you think are super happy, actually not that happy. Some of them are really depressed. They're very sad. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality. And nobody looks good all the time. It doesn't matter who you are. No.
It's not even something you should want. Why do you want to look great all the time?
Yeah, exactly. So I think things like that can make people quite sad.
Well,
just by comparison, because you just sort of people generally think of themselves relative to others. We are constantly rebaselining our expectations. And you can see this, say, if you watch some show like Naked and Afraid, or if you just go and try living in the woods by yourself for a while, and you'll learn that civilization is quite great. It has a lot of it. People want to come back to civilization pretty fast on Naked and Afraid.
Wasn't that a Thoreau quote? The comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah. Well, happiness is reality minus expectations.
That's great too. But the comparison is a thief of joy really holds true to people. Is it?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Fascinating. When you're thinking about Instagram, because what essentially Instagram is with a lot of people is you're giving them the opportunity to be their own PR agent. And they always go towards the glamorous, And when anybody does show, hashtag no filter, if they really do that, like, oh, you're so brave. Look at you. No makeup.
Yeah.
They look good anyway. You look great. What are you doing? Oh my God, you don't have makeup on. You still look hot as fuck. You know what you're doing. I know what you're doing too. They're letting you know, and then they're feeding off that comment section. Ooh, just a little sitting there like it's a fresh stream of love. Like you're getting right up to the source as it comes out of the earth, and you're sucking that sweet
lot of emojis.
Love water.
Emojis.
Yeah.
A lot of emojis.
My concern is not so much what Instagram is that I didn't think that people had the need for this or the expectation for some sort of technology that allows them to constantly get love and adulation from strangers and comments and this ability to project this sort of distorted version of who you really are. But I worry about where it goes. Like, what's the next one? Like, where is it? Is it going to be augmented? Some sort of a weird augmented or virtual sort of Instagram type situation where you're not going to want to live in this real world. You're going to want to interface with this sort of world that you've created through your social media page. It's some next level thing.
Go live in the simulation.
Yeah, maybe
in the simulation.
Some Ready Player One type shit that's real. That seems, we have that HTC Vive here, and I've only done it a couple times, quite honestly, because it kind of freaks me out.
Sure.
My kids fucking love it, man. They love it. They love playing these weirdo games and walking around with that headset on. But part of me watching them do it goes, wow, I wonder if this is like the precursor. Just sort of like if you look at that phone that Gordon Gekko had on the beach.
Yes.
And then you compare
the big
that.
Cell phone.
Yeah, you compare that to like a Galaxy Note 9.
Sure.
Like, how the fuck did that become that, right? And I wonder when I see this HTC Vive, I'm like, what is that thing going to be? 10 years from now, when we're making fun of what it is now? What is it? How ingrained and how connected and interconnected is this technology going to be in our life?
It will be, at some point, indistinguishable from reality.
Where we'll lose this. We'll lose this. Like you and I are just looking at each other through our eyes. I see
Are
you,
we?
you see me. I hope.
You think so?
I think you probably have regular eyes.
This could be some simulation.
It could. Do you entertain that?
Well, the argument for the simulation, I think, is quite strong, because if you assume any improvement at all over time, any improvement, 1%, 0.1%, just extend the time frame, make it 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. What civilization, if you count it, if you're very generous, civilization is maybe 7,000 or 8,000 years old, if you count it from the first writing. This is nothing. This is nothing. So if you assume any rate of improvement at all, then games will be indistinguishable from reality. Or civilization will end. One of those two things will occur. Therefore, we are most likely in a simulation.
Or we're on our
we
way
exist.
to one, right? Well, but just
Since we
because we
exist,
exist, we could most certainly be on the road. We could be on the road to that, right? It doesn't mean that it has to have
We
already
could be in
happened.
base reality. We could be in base reality.
We could be here now on our way to the road or on our way to the destination where this can never happen again, where we are completely ingrained in some sort of an artificial technology or some sort of a symbiotic relationship with the internet or the next level of sharing information. But right now we're not there yet. That's possible too, right? It's possible that a simulation is one day going to be inevitable, that we're going to have something that's indistinguishable from regular reality. But maybe we're not there yet. That's also possible. That we're not quite there yet. That this is real. When I touch that
It feels
wood,
very real.
maybe that's why everybody's like into like mason jars and shit.
Mason jars.
Suede shoes. People are into like craft restaurants and they want raw wood. Everyone wants to see metal. It seems like people are like longing towards some weird log cabin type nostalgia.
Sure, reality.
Yeah, like holding on, like clinging, just dragging their nails through the mud, like don't take me yet.
Yes.
I want to.
But then people will go get a mason jar with a wine stem or a handle. That's dark. Makes me lose faith in humanity.
Wine stem and a handle. Do they have those?
Yes.
Oh, those dirty people.
Oh,
that's just
terrible.
assholes. That's like people make pet rocks.
Rough.
Right? Some people are just assholes. They take advantage of our generous nature.
It was made with a wine stem, made with a handle.
They made it that way.
Yes.
So it wasn't like they welded
like
it
that.
onto the mason. Ah, you
No,
fucks.
that would be fine if there was, they glued it on or something. But
Right, that would be like
it was made that way.
White trash chic. Oh, this is disgusting. Look at
Yes.
this. Here it is
Pretty
right
harsh.
there.
Yep.
This is terrible. Yeah. That's like fake breasts that are designed to be hard, like fake breasts from the 60s. It's like if you really long for the ones with ripples, here we go. Yeah. That's almost what that is.
Yeah.
What are you going to do, man? There's nothing, it's nothing you can do to stop certain terrible ideas from propagating.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to sound like things are too dark, because I think like you kind of have to be optimistic about the future. There's no point in being pessimistic. It's just too negative.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help. I think you want to be. My theory is like you'd rather be optimistic. I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
Right.
At least err on that side.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're pessimistic, you're just going to be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to be around you anyway. If it's the end of the world, you're like, I fucking told you, bro.
Yeah.
The world's
Exactly.
ending. Yeah. It is what it is for all.
Enjoy the journey.
Right, if you really want to get morose, it is what it is for all of us anyway. We're all going to go, unless something changes.
Yeah. Ultimately, even if we just sort of existed as humans forever, we'd be would still eventually that'd be like the heat death of the universe
Right.
a zillion years from now.
Right. Even if we get it past the sun. If we figure out a way past the sun running out of juice.
Eventually it's going to end. It's just a question of when.
Right.
So it really is all about the journey.
Or transcendence from whatever we are now into something that doesn't worry about death.
The universe as we know it will dissipate into a fine mist of cold nothingness eventually.
And then someone's going to bottle it and put a fragrance to it, sell it to French people in another dimension.
It's just a very long time. So
Yeah.
I think it's really just about how can we make it last longer?
Are you a proponent of the multi-universes theory? Do you believe that there are many, many universes and that even if this one fades out, that there's other ones that are starting fresh right now and there's an infinite number of them and they're just constantly in this never-ending cycle of birth and death?
I think most likely, this is just about probability, there are many, many simulations. These simulations are, you might as well call them reality, or you could call them multiverse.
These simulations you believe are created? Like someone has manufactured?
They're running on the substrate.
So
That substrate is probably boring.
boring.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Well, when we create a simulation, like a game or a movie, it's a distillation of what's interesting about life. You know, like it can take a year to shoot an action movie, and then that's all distilled down into 2 or 3 hours. So let me tell you, if you see an action movie being filmed, it's boring, super boring. There's like lots of takes. Everything's in a green screen. Looks pretty goofy. Doesn't look cool. But once you add the CGI and have great editing, it's amazing. So I think most likely, if we're a simulation, it's really boring outside the simulation. Because why would you make a simulation that's boring? You'd make the simulation way more interesting than base reality.
That is if this right now is a simulation.
Yes.
And ultimately, inevitably, as long as we don't die or get hit by a meteor, we're going to create some sort of simulation if we continue on the same technological path we're on right now.
Yes.
But we might not be there yet. So it might not be a simulation here. But it most likely is, you feel, other places.
This notion of place or where is a...
Flawed.
Yes.
Flawed
Like
perception.
like
right.
that, if you have this sort of, that Vive, you know, that's made by Valve and Steam, and it's really Valve that made it. HTC did the hardware, but it's really a Valve thing.
Makers of Half-Life.
Yes. Valve, great company.
Great company.
When you're in that virtual reality, which is only going to get better, where are you? Where are you really?
Right.
You aren't anywhere.
Well, whereas
You're in the computer.
what defines where you are? Is
Exactly.
it right?
It's your perception.
Is it your perceptions, or is it a scale that we have under your butt? You're
What
right here. I've measured you. You're the same weight as you were when you left. But meanwhile, your experience.
Why
is
do you
radically
think
different.
you're where you are right now? You might not be.
I'll spark up a joint if you keep talking. Your manager's going to come in here. We might have to lock the door.
Right now, you think you're in a studio in LA.
That's what I heard.
You might be in a computer.
Oh, listen, man. I think about this all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's unquestionable that one day that'll be the case. As long as we keep going. As long as nothing interrupts us. And if we start from scratch and, we're single-celled organisms all over again, and then millions and millions of years later, we become the next thing that is us with creativity and the ability to change its environment. It's going to keep monkeying with things until it figures out a way to change reality. To change, to almost like punch a hole through what is this thing into what it wants it to be and create new things. And then those new things will intersect with other people's new things. And then it'll be this ultimate pathway of infinite ideas and expression, all through technology.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wonder, like, why are we here? What are we doing?
Let's find out.
Well,
I mean, I think we should take the set of actions that are most likely to make the future better.
yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And then reevaluate those actions to make sure that it's true.
Well,
JRE 2151. Did reality change without us noticing? Rizwan Virk explores Mandela effects as possible evidence of hidden timelines.
Even back to what I was talking about earlier with Philip K. Dick, right? And his idea that the universe, what happens is we actually go and we change variables and we rerun it, and we might have the sense that we're rerunning the same scene, we're saying the same things, but something could be different. And usually something is different when you run the simulation. You know, and that's what got me into a whole nother rabbit hole, which I covered in my second book, which is the Mandela effect. I don't know if you've heard about the Mandela effect.
I have, but I don't necessarily totally understand it.
Yeah, well, I kind of dismissed the whole thing earlier, you know, and the Mandela effect is when a small group of people remember something happening differently in the past than what is the majority consensus opinion.
And it's about Mandela being dead, right?
Well, that was the first thing that kind of kicked off this blogger who actually coined the term. I think her name was Fiona Broom. Just some people remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 80s. But of course, he didn't die in prison, right? You can look it up, right? He got out of prison, became president of South Africa, won the Nobel Peace Prize, and died in whatever it was, like more recently, like I don't know, 2013 or something like that. But the people who remember this, they remember it with just like a whole bunch of specific details, right? His wife, Winnie, spoke at the funeral. There were certain U.S. politicians or presidents there. And so what happened was that was one Mandela effect, if you will. And then there started to be all these other things that people remembered that were different. And some of these were relatively minor things like the spelling of Fruit Loops or
Berenstain Bears.
That's the most famous one, right? The Berenstain Bears, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, in fact, here, we can see it there, right? If you ask people, most people remember it as the Berenstain Bears.
Right.
But when you look at it, it's actually the Berenstain Bears. Okay, it's a relatively small change, but it's one that people are really confused about. Then there's the movies, right? The movie lines, like in Star Wars, you know, did he say, you know, Luke, I am your father? Did Darth Vader actually say that, right? Mm-hmm. And so now I'm not necessarily saying that all of this stuff happens. Like I dismissed a lot of this as just faulty memory, and that's the currently accepted explanation for the Mandela effect is, a bunch of people got it wrong, right? But what you find is that the more significance that something has to you, the less likely you are to get it wrong, right? So if you're Jewish and you asked your parents, why are these bears Jewish, right? And your parents didn't say, oh, it's not really Bernstein, it's Bernstein, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's proximity to that subject, right? There was a blogger online, I'm forgetting her name now. She was a journalism student in Chicago, and she said she went to South Africa to interview Nelson Mandela in prison and was told that he was too ill. So she literally came back, and then she started working for NPR. And then she says, well, I remember him dying shortly after. Now, if you just went to South Africa to interview Nelson Mandela and then you remember him dying, and that's proximity and significance. You're less likely to get it wrong than just some random guy who just thought Mandela died. Or if you're, you know, heavy-duty Christian and you're more likely to memorize certain passages, you know, from the Bible.
Right.
So, again, I dismissed it. And then what happened was after I had written the simulation hypothesis about this idea that the whole world is computation, a friend of mine from MIT who was working at Google came to me and said, you know, hey, have you heard of the Mandela effect? I was like, yeah, I heard about it, but, you know, a bunch of people remembering, you know, different stuff.
Right.
No big deal. He goes, well, the simulation hypothesis is one of the best explanations for this, that the world is a simulation. Now, I was surprised for two reasons. One, most guys, you know, who are at MIT or Google, you know, they tend to be very left-brained, right? So the Mandela effect is not something that they generally pay attention to, or UFOs, or like any of this kind of weird stuff. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that if you're running a simulation and you go back and you change some variables and you rerun the simulation, lots of little things could be different along the way, right? And if you think of all the Mandela effects, and I like to use the Mandela effect as a way of illustrating this idea that a simulation can run multiple timelines, right? Whether you believe it's actually happened is up to you, right? But if let's say the thinker has 3 different possibilities, then you got, let's say, the Bernstein Bears. Let's say you have Curious George. Does he have a tail or does he not have a tail? Right? That's actually a good one. I don't remember like which one it is. But if you look it up.
I don't think he has a tail.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know. Let's see if we can bring it up.
But all monkeys have tails. Curious George is a monkey, right?
Right? He's a...
Don't know. Do all monkeys have tails? Right, like all apes are monkeys, but not all monkeys are apes.
Right. That's more of a superset,
Right.
subset type of issue, right? But with Curious George is a particular drawing, right? That was made, right?
Does Curious George have a tail?
Does he have a tail? Let's see.
Yep.
He does have a tail,
He's got
right?
a tail. Wow. Sometimes
does
he
he?
doesn't.
Or never
Curious
had a
George
tail.
never had a tail. Right. Yo.
And so I think the way you remember it, which is without the tail, is the current consensus reality view, right, of what it is. But so let's go back to my point about these different possibilities, right?
Okay.
So imagine each of these is different possibilities. You got like 50 of these effects or 100 of these effects. Now you basically have this huge graph, right? In this one, Darth Vader said this, but Curious George had a tail. In this one, he didn't. What you have is this network graph of possibilities of the past, right? You have many different possible pasts.
You have glitches in the matrix.
Exactly. So now you're sitting on this idea that maybe these are glitches in the matrix, that something weird has happened. But it could also be that we like switched, right? You're now on this timeline, but you remember. You have like a deja vu, or you have like a weird memory.
Right. So even though you can Google, no, I was wrong about Mandela, in your mind and in your memory, you're like, no, he died in prison.
Right. Or, for me.
I know he died in prison. I remember it. I remember being sad. I remember the news stories.
Right.
I remember talking about it with friends.
Or Bill Clinton spoke at the funeral, or whoever, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, people get that specific with their memories. And so I think it becomes harder to just dismiss some of these, Fruit Loops, you can probably find.
There's some faulty memory.
Yeah, there's some faulty memory going on here, but at the same time.
Some weirdness.
It's not, because it's not just a movie line, it's like entire movies, right, that people claim to have had on VHS.
Look at this. Whoa. Boom. Look how they're sliding all over the place. I mean, that is fucking ice. Yeah. That guy can't stop his car. Look, he's just going to slide in that car behind him. This is ridiculous.
Is that
you
Portland?
Can't stop it.
Oh, shit.
Boom. And that
still
car's
going.
sliding. They're all sliding. The whole thing is ice.
JRE number 1821. Bert Kreischer and Tony Hinchcliffe discuss a terrifying idea. Once time travel is invented, the future could instantly rewrite reality forever.
It's crazy. Have you seen that new movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, but I keep hearing amazing things about it.
Yeah, we just saw it this past
Did you go to the movie theater?
weekend. Yeah.
Look at you, like a regular person.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
How was it? Tell me what it's a multiverse kind of movie,
it's
right?
like that. She ends up figuring out how to switch into her different lives and like take different times, different lives that she's lived throughout all of time.
Wait, what the
and
fuck?
Fast forward and rewind and use these things to her advantage and try to accomplish things. It's crazy.
Oh, I love time travel.
Yeah, it's wild.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the theory that Terrence McKenna had to the thing that's going to change the universe, is that one day someone's going to invent a time machine, and that when they invent a time machine, all time ceases to become linear. So you think if you have a time machine, well, I'll just go back to the time where they were making the pyramids and I'll watch them do it. That's not what it works like. What he was saying, you can't travel where there are no roads. So once a road gets built, then you can travel. So once a time machine gets invented, then anyone from the invention of the time machine forward to forever can come back to that moment and can go to any point in time from that moment to the end of time. So all time ceases to be linear. So there's no like tomorrow will be Wednesday and the next day will be Thursday. No. It's everything happens everywhere all at once. So people can travel back and forth through time. You can never own anything because someone could just travel through time and take it away from you when you weren't looking. Like as time travel gets more and more sophisticated, you can go back and forth in time while you're talking to people. You know, if you don't like what you said, you could rewind and start all over again. If you're in an argument with your wife, you can go to the library and get information and come back and go, actually, you know, Herodotus once said, and then bam, your wife thinks you're the smartest guy in the world. Like this, but there would be no normal life anymore. It would the world itself would be completely unrecognizable because time would mean nothing. You'd be able to travel back and forth through time.
All right, so then where would you go right now? Just if I could do, we can time travel right now, go back in
the past.
In the past.
Well,
what's one thing you'd like to see again?
See, that would be a different kind of time travel. That's an unrealistic theatrical version of time travel because like you said, once time travel is invented, that's the time you can start traveling. So you can't
go before that.
Right.
Okay.
So like here we are, it's May of 2022. If time travel is invented in June, we're not going back to April. You can't go back to April.
Okay.
But you can go from June to a million years in the future and see what people look like. You'll be able to do that. But they'll be able to come back too, and everything's going to be happening everywhere all at once. There's not going to be any sort of structure to life. There's not going to be anything in terms of money, possessions. As long as you could freely time travel, there will be no time. Everything's going to be moving around, and also instantaneously you'll become immortal because whatever we have right now in terms of technology, what we're going to have in a million years is going to be godlike. And you're going to be able to travel to that if in fact that actually does even take place. Because the question becomes like, what is the future if time travel does exist? So if time travel exists in June of 2022, is there even a future? Like, does it even take place? Because how can anybody invent things when they can just travel to a point where someone invented it already? But how are they going to invent it already if you can just travel to the future? And do they invent things still? Or do people, if they do invent things, what's to stop people from going back before them and taking the idea and introducing it before that? Thus, there'll be no intellectual property because there'll be no way to say you came up with it first. It won't exist.
Carlos Mencia will be the greatest comedian in the world. Just smashing.
Wow.
Think about that.
Is there someone working on time machines right now? There's got to be, right?
Well, there's a guy named Ronald Millett. I think he's out of the University of Connecticut, if you Google this. And he's got the craziest Spider-Man character origin story. His father died. And he became obsessed with time travel because he wanted to go back in time and save his father. So he became a professor studying time travel. And he came up with a workable model of a time machine. But it requires immense, immense power. That's him. Ron Millett built a device that illustrates the principles he believes could be used to build a time machine. But he was one of the people that came up with one of the first people to come up with the realization or the revelation that once that time machine was invented,
his dad died in Vietnam.
But it is really like a comic book superhero sort of origin story, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a great origin story.
Yeah. So this guy has become obsessed and has been working on it for decades, and they think they have a working model of, like at least a theoretical model of a time machine, but it just requires like the power of the sun. It requires immense power. And I think there's a guy from, the early 19th century, Kurt Gödel. He wasn't from the early 19th century, early 20th century. And he had a working model of a time machine too, but it involved something as large as like the solar system. Like you needed a machine the size of a solar system or something crazy. Yeah. Kurt Gödel in 1949 found a solution to the field equations of general relativity which described a space-time with some unusual properties. This Gödel universe permitted closed time-like curves, hence a kind of time travel, and it did not admit decomposition into the successive moments of time. Yeah, so he had
I didn't
So there's been a
understand
few
any of that
guys.
sentence.
Nah,
I mean,
I
like
don't think
that's,
I did either.
I'm like so stupid that if I start to realize what that means, it gives me a panic attack. Like as you talk about, there's no anything ever anywhere, or when you just mentioned the universe, and I realize there is something really up there. Like
Like it's not just up there.
It's out there.
Yeah, it's all around you
That I don't
for
like.
infinity.
That fucking gives me a panic attack immediately.
Yeah, it'll give you a panic attack if you really do stop and give it time and think about it. It's an amazing thing.
Do you think that they'll be able to take, like, I don't know if we have to go to computer modeling, but take the data of, like, this video, for instance, where these kids are in 1901, and put that into, like, virtual reality where you could then insert yourself to be in there? You can't affect anything, but you could at least experience and hear what it's like.
Yeah, but you probably get an interpretation of it. Like, say if they wanted to do that today and they had this unbelievable ability to create people and images and places, and they decided to show you the construction of the pyramids, they would just be guessing.
JRE number 1852. What really happened in Antarctica after WW2? Sam Tripoli explores rumors of Nazi UFO bases hidden beneath the ice.
Yeah, have you ever looked into Klaus Schwab's, like, dad?
No.
Have you ever heard of New Schwabenland?
New Schwabenland.
You never heard of New Schwabenland?
No.
Have you ever heard of Operation High Jump?
I knew I was going to love this podcast. No.
Dude,
What's
it's
Operation High
crazy.
Jump? What does that mean?
Okay, so at one point, some people are like, what's going on with Antarctica? Have you heard of this, where they sent Admiral Byrd up?
What's going on in Antarctica?
Yeah, so the U.S. government's like, something's going on with Antarctica. There's some activity up there. We want to find out what's going on. So they send this cat named Admiral Byrd up to investigate with a giant fleet, just a fleet to go bang, bro. You know?
When was this?
I think this was in the when was Eisenhower in? Was it the
50s?
Yeah, it was
60s?
like right around just either around World War II or right after it. And so they sent Admiral Byrd up to go find out. And according to his journal that they found much later, he basically met with UFOs, Nazi UFOs.
What?
Yes,
Nazi UFOs.
The Nazis.
The Nazis had a flying saucer.
Had made a deal, basically, working with
What?
You've never heard this?
No.
It's the greatest story ever, bro. It's the greatest
so
story.
the Nazis made a deal with the aliens?
Yes.
Holy shit.
For technology, and the deal was they were going to work together, okay? I know this sounds crazy. So basically, the aliens go down, and Klaus Schwab's dad go down and meet with Eisenhower. It's gonna be like we could either do it one way or the other way. We could do it nice, or we can do it the wrong way. And that's where they say Eisenhower made a deal with these aliens that they could kidnap people and do experiments, but they couldn't just do it anywhere. They had specific places, which were our national forest.
What?
Yeah, dude. You've never heard of this.
You're making this sound
No.
as if this is like a story that is commonplace.
Well, for my people, it is.
Jamie, count me out here. Have you heard this
Honestly,
story?
brand new.
You've never heard of this? You've never heard of Operation High Jump, bro?
I feel like I've heard of that, but I haven't, not in this context.
This sounds
Let me see
amazing.
if I
Please
look
keep
up that
going.
way.
And
So,
this is where the missing 411 come from.
The missing information? What missing information?
No, the missing 411.
What do you mean by that?
Which is all these people have mysteriously disappeared in force. And they don't know
You're not
how.
talking about the missing 411 like information.
No.
You're talking- so missing 411 is the number of people that have been abducted?
Yeah, and it's all really weird because they all have a lot of similar characteristics. German background, highly intelligent, and I don't know how weird you want to get, bro.
I want to get weird.
Okay, bro. They think this might be some time traveling Nazi shit, bro. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but it's true, dude. That's what they believe, and they made
Who
a
is
deal.
These they folk?
Who?
When you say they believe, who are these they?
The
people?
conspiracy people.
Are they united on?
No, there's a whole different. There's a lot of
Many
warring
factions.
clans, bro. There's a lot of warring clans, dude.
But that one
How
is,
deep do you want to go?
What is interesting is how advanced the engineering of the Germans was. You know, it's really interesting. When you think about car manufacturers like Audi and Volkswagen and Mercedes, it's all out of BMW. Didn't BMW make engines for Nazi fighter pilots? I think that's what they first started off doing.
They all did, bro.
But
I mean,
think that's what BMW did, right?
yeah, 100%. And then we were
And Audi made Hitler a car.
Yeah.
Hitler had a race car. an
That was
Audi race
never
car.
part of their marketing plan, though.
Yeah,
that would have been a crazy campaign.
What does it say there?
It's a 1939 BMW 801D piston
Radial aircraft engine, and national origin is Germany. So
World War II planes.
in that year, they made World War II planes. They made engines for World War II planes. That's wild, man.
I mean, IBM was making stuff for these camps, too, dude. It's crazy.
IBM?
Yeah. Like,
They had
We've
computers?
talked about that before.
yeah.
Right. What was that?
There's a book.
What did they do?
They were it was the precursor to actual computers. It was like a filing system to keep track of stuff.
Yeah, of who was where and what into these
Oh,
camps.
that's right. I'm remembering this.
And then you, oh yeah, man, it gets super
And so
weird.
that,
But the
it
place,
wasn't called IBM, right? Was it called something else?
I
think it was IBM.
Book. Yeah, the book is called IBM and the Holocaust: A Strategic Alliance Between Nazi
I
Germany.
mean, you
and
ain't
America's
fucking around with
Powerful
that title,
Corporation.
huh?
That title is rough.
Yeah, dude.
If you're IBM,
straight
you
to
gotta
the
be like,
point.
fuck, did we do that? Did we really do this?
I don't remember
The strategic alliance between Nazi Germany and America's most powerful corporation expanded. Interesting.
So the area of Antarctica they went to was New Schwabenland.
New Schwabenland. Do you think that's why he dresses with the space
100%, bro.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun. So they're all in contact with the aliens.
I think, well, dude, I mean, it gets into. See, a lot of people think this is about power and money.
What do you think it's about?
It's spiritual war, dude. These people got all the money and all the power. They got more than they could ever want.
I think they want complete control.
But that gets into spirituality, not just complete control, but lowering your vibration and jacking your loosh. Your spirit energy.
You think they're doing that consciously, or do you think they're doing it like they're chasing the economics, and along the way it actually becomes a spiritual battle, because everything is a spiritual battle?
I think it's done purposely. I think they're
evil.
I think they're at low. There's low frequency stuff going on, and they've made deals with people and things, and that's why I think's going on.
That was very ambiguous, but I understand where you're going with it.
Okay. I mean, if you want me, I just don't want to get too weird too fast, bro. But I'm like,
We just opened up. We're good.
I 100% believe this is spiritual war, and that these people are working with dark entities, and that's what this is all about.
Let's imagine this. If there was like an alien race that came here from another planet and gave just a random group of people technology.
Yeah.
Gave them an understanding of things and how to do things. How much of a record do you think they would keep of that? Wouldn't that be something that people would want to talk about?
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the internet, that we're now able to do that. We could never do that before.
So you think that's what this story is about? That the story is about they went there and they met with aliens and the aliens gave them information?
I mean, Hitler was really into the occult.
Yeah, I know,
like he would
was.
send people all over the place.
He had a lot of bad ideas.
Yeah, he had a lot of bad ideas. But see, the occult has a negative connotation to it. Not everything involved with the occult is negative. What the occult really means is secret.
Secret.
So there's not as much
That's
around.
what the word means?
Yeah, it's basically it means like it's hidden.
I always associate it with people that believe in silly shit. When someone starts talking about the occult, I'm always like, how do you feel about ghosts? You know, how do you feel about, like, when people start talking about like dark magic, I'm like, for real? You sure?
I believe in that there's some energy manipulation, but
I don't disbelieve.
Yeah,
I don't disbelieve.
Listen, I don't know what's going on. I just kind of read stuff, and I'm like, how does this fit into the puzzle, right? How does this fit into the jigsaw of life? And you start looking around, and you just start going, okay, man, This is interesting. That is interesting. This starts to make sense.
JRE 1117. What if history got Hitler's ending wrong? Tim Kennedy investigates secret escape routes and sightings in South America.
Oh, he's unique.
What is Finding Hitler all about? This is a show that you're on, and it's on A&E. Is that what's on?
Yeah, A&E is the parent network. It airs on History Channel, and we just had our third season that just finished airing.
What's the thought process behind this? Is it legit? Because a lot of people are like, Finding Hitler, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
They found Hitler, he died.
Yeah, I mean,
Not really?
we don't know.
Right.
That's I mean, this isn't like Ancient Aliens. This is they declassified a bunch of documents. They both the Israelis, the British, and the Germans and Americans in the past 20 years have been consistently declassifying documents, and there were a bunch of specifically FBI documents that we were spending millions and millions of dollars actively searching for Hitler after the war, as was
Really?
Yeah, like millions of dollars. Like Hoover was like, no, send more FBI agents to South America, to North Africa, go to the Canary Islands, go to Spain, trying to find out where this guy went. Tons of real FBI documents with real leads, with real informants, some first eye accounts saying that they physically. So anyways, that's the show, is us trying to find out, sift through reality and the fiction of the allure, the mystery of that asshole.
So what's the official story? The official story is that he killed himself, right?
Yep.
He killed himself in the bunker with
Yeah.
Ava Braun.
Yep.
And is there any photographic evidence of his death or anything?
Yeah. So what the Russians got the body and they got his skull. And when they brought it back to Moscow, nobody has ever been able to independently verify who and what this body is. They let one genetic test occur, and the body with the bullet holes that they said was Hitler, and have said, and that's the narrative, that's the story, that's all the eyewitness accounts that are even in the vicinity of collaborating with each other, and corroborating each other's testimony. Like the closest version, because none of it seems to be very accurate, is that, okay, here's Hitler's skull, and when they did the genetic testing, it's that of a 35-year-old woman. So they're like, oh, well, this isn't Hitler, but they've said for the past 80 years that this is Hitler. So, okay, first, before we start throwing stones at Russia, let's go back to 1945, April, in Berlin. You have the Allies coming in, wrecking shop, dropping bombs, blowing everything up they can in every single which way. You have the Russians coming in from the opposite direction. They don't even have enough guns to arm all their soldiers. So if they have 200 guys, or 200,000 guys, they have 100,000 guns. If the guy in front of you dies, you just pick up his gun. That's what's happening in April of 1945 in Berlin. So the noose is tightening. There is it is chaos, anarchy, pandemonium. This is hell on earth, is Berlin, 1945. So I don't know if you could get a real story, the way that we do it now, where we have, this forensic experts that come in and document everything, and we look at all the different testimonies, say this is exactly how, it's not CSI. This is 1945 Berlin. It's crazy. So I don't know.
So there was no absolute proof.
No.
And a lot of Nazis did escape and go to South America.
The majority of anyone with power. The Nuremberg trials were not a witch hunt, but it was to close a chapter so we could start moving forward with communism. That's what it was. The threat of fascism, the threat of Hitler, the threat of killing all the Jews, the threat of world domination by the Nazis, that threat's gone. What's the next threat?
Communism.
It's communism.
Right.
So that had to be a closed chapter of our history so we could focus our resources and our efforts to what inevitably was going to, the wall goes up. We have East and West Berlin. We're already looking at Korea. This happens almost overnight.
Right, very quickly.
When Patton's like, no, homies, we need to go all the way to Moscow. This is not the end of our war, and we didn't listen to him. We then have been, fighting communism for the past 75 years.
So the ones with power that went to South America, I know a bunch of them went to Argentina, but they think they went to Honduras and a few other places. Where do they think they wound up?
So what you had in South America, both Chile and Argentina back-to-back had fascist regimes. You had Perón, who was part of the Nazi party starting all the way back into the mid-30s. He's the president of Argentina. So the Red Cross, they were there was about 3 different rat lines that guys were able to successfully get out of Europe into South America. And there's no question that we're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of high-ranking Nazis made it there.
Tens of thousands?
Tens of thousands. And I'm not talking like little soldiers. I'm talking high-ranking Nazis, officers, guys like Joseph Mengele and Adolf Eichmann. I mean, these are the most disgusting, despicable humans to exist at the time. If Hitler is dead, Joseph Mengele is the guy that would take syringes full of blue ink and inject them. You have blue eyes, Joe, or you have brown eyes. Let me see if I can make them blue.
Oh, wow.
And then take twins and start torturing them to see if one would feel the pain. That's Joseph Mengele. I mean, that's the guy that then in South America was helping high-ranking Argentinians have abortions, and he set up, have you seen the movie Colonia?
No.
About Colonia Dignidad, which is, if you're listening right now, I almost warn you not to Google it, because it was a torture camp that was started by Joseph Schaefer, a Nazi, and Joseph Mengele, the doctor of death that escaped trial in Nuremberg and made it at the behest of Perón into Argentina. He set up the hospital at Colonia Dignidad, which was another safe haven for more Nazis in South America. Golda Meir and Ben Gurion, the presidents of Israel, they took the gloves off and they were just sending assassins to try to find these people and kill them. But what you got in South America were isolated German-only communities. You could go into Bariloche, Argentina, and I'd be like, "Buenos dias, amigos," and they're like, "Guten Morgen." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I meant good morning. Yeah, sorry, it's 2017, right? I thought we spoke Spanish here."
So, in 2017, you were there, and they were speaking German.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I don't look very. I might look more European than I do. So it's just them seeing me walking down the street and be like,
"Wow."
Yeah. And there's tons of communities. I mean, if you go to Colonia Dignidad, which is now called Villa Bavaria, the Bavarian village, it is only German.
Whoa.
In the center of Chile, in the mountains of Chile. Like there's no Spanish being spoken there. It is exclusively German.
And these are the descendants of Nazis.
Powerful Nazis.
Holy shit. And this is going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what are these communities like? I mean, what's their ideology? Are they...
I mean, they're pretty white.
Yeah, but are they like... I mean, do they espouse Nazi values or...
Not openly. So Colonia Dignidad, if you look at the second generation, there's a bunch of... So it was a huge problem for Chile that they tried to hide for years. And they got so much power from the torturing that they did at Colonia Dignidad on a whole bunch of other high-ranking South American dictators that they are almost untouchable. And this is, I mean, you'd blow your mind if you look into this, Joe. You'd love it. But the second generation, the kids, like the grandkids, sometimes they're even more fanatical than the original generation. Have you ever seen this? Where like if somebody's away from, like when you travel abroad, man, it's so cool to get into the culture and get into the food and get into the, like you're dancing this style and you love the flag and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to a soccer game because we don't go to soccer games in America, and then I'm gonna go. But then maybe after like 2 months, you kind of miss home, and then like a year, like you really miss home, and then 10 years, like you really, really miss home. And you see the same thing in the United States where it's not really a perfect assimilation. It's not the melting pot where you see generations that are espousing to be more like their ethnic heritage than they are American. They're flying the Irish flag and like, I'm Irish. Well, it's just times 1,000 with these communities because they're exclusively German.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Kind of weird.
So exclusively German and really missing home.
Yeah. Yeah. So
70 years later.
the second generations I was talking about, some of them came to the United States and were high-ranking white supremacists that are now in jail, in prison, for their racial crimes.
And they came out of South America.
They came out of Colonia Dignidad. They came out of Bariloche. They came out of
Holy shit.
Cordoba. They came out of Misiones. They came out of, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. So that's the show, Hunting Hitler.
Fucking A, man.
It's a trip.
How many people are we talking about all told in South America that come out of this? I mean, tens of thousands went there, but how many German communities and how big are they?
Yeah, we maybe have 50 German communities.
50. How many people, if you had to guess?
A few 100,000.
Holy shit. A few 100,000 descendants of Nazis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And man, it's weird when you walk into somebody's parlor and it's like you're stepping back in time into Europe. Like I'm walking in, it's 2017 and I'm walking in Buenos Aires, Argentina into somebody's parlor and all of the tile is European and all of the style and all the art is very German. You know, we have like deers and like not like red stags. We're talking German everything, things that Hitler loved. And that's the style and that's everything. And then they come out and like with white gloves, they're holding their grandfather's memory box. And inside of it are his war medals from, you know, when he was in the SS or when he was, and it is the respect, I don't even know the
reverence.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's like it's like this is a gift from the Pope that they're holding in their hands. White gloves. No, I can't. First of all, Tim can't touch it. But I can appreciate it. And then they tell me the story of every single one of these things and how he got there, and how he then went and worked for the Buenos Aires News.
You can't touch anything.
No, they wouldn't. No, because I'm.
You're dirty.
I'm dirty.
Dirty American.
Look at these. Look at this.
You're too brown.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
So we followed. The first 2 seasons, it was really just unraveling the rumors of what happened to Hitler. The third season was my favorite because I actually got to do real work. They said, okay, I got to the second season, I got to bring in more special forces guys, a CIA targeter, Nadia, who helped my unit kill Zarqawi in 2006. This is the team that is now looking at real evidence, trying to figure out, okay, how did we find bin Laden? How did we find Zarqawi? We looked at their associates and we looked at how they moved. We looked at how they communicated. We looked at what routes they were using to get to and from places. And then we just started tightening the noose. And that's exactly what we did in this third season was, okay, let's start following the Adolf Eichmanns. Let's start following the Joseph Mengeles. And let's start following the Skorzynskis. Hitler's personal bodyguard that was a colonel in the SS that went on to work for everybody after the war fighting. I mean, fascists do not like communists. So this guy was working for everybody to include the CIA fighting fascism in South America or fighting communism as a fascist in South America in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Whoa.
Creepy stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Hunting Hitler.
Are there any legitimate eyewitness accounts of Hitler in South America? Or potentially legitimate?
Absolutely, potentially.
Whoa.
Yep. Eyewitness accounts. I saw him get off a boat. I saw him meet here. And if it was just some person saying it, it's almost meaningless.
Right.
But if you look at the context of who this person is, the wealth that they have that they shouldn't have, like, can you explain how you got so rich in 2 generations? You know, like, okay, your grandpa got here from Germany in 1946. That's weird. And he's on a legitimate visa with an Argentinian passport. Also weird. And now he's a war refugee that's now worth millions of dollars. How does this work? But people, and then this is the hard part, people want to be connected to significant events. and especially in small rural areas of the world, developing areas. Like there's so little happening. They want to be attached to something massive. And like the fact that they saw a U-boat land on this beach, and the hatch opened, and these cars were sitting there and they were doing Morse code, and this guy gets off and he had this little mustache. You're like, well, but U-boats can't beach. That's not how that works.
Right.
But you know what they're trying to do. They just want to be connected.
Yeah.
So, and now we're removed 70 to 80 years from the facts. It has been painful to try to use real science, real investigative tools to try to sift through this lore,
What do you think happened? I mean, you've been studying this for how long now?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
If you had a guess, if you had like $1 million, you got to put it on one side or another. Did he go there?
Yeah.
Whoa. Jesus Christ.
I would say, man, that's the first time I've ever said it flat out like that. What I want to say is the way history is written is wrong. That's clear. There's no way that we can say he died on this day. This is what happened. Here is his body, and that's what
the physical proof is for sure. The woman that head that they were saying was Hitler is definitely not Hitler.
It was absolutely not. That's a fact.
So they don't have Hitler's body.
So then our other option was, okay, is it Ava Brahms? Did they just grab the wrong burnt body, right? So there are still descendants of Ava, and we tried to have them allow us to do it. Then we tried to go through like,
and they can get DNA off of the skull?
Yeah.
There's meat on it?
No, it's like a tooth. Yeah.
Okay.
And but they wouldn't consent to it. So then we tried to do, like where people have like the tree, their ethnic tree.
Yeah.
What is those websites called?
23andMe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of them.
Right.
And we tried to go that route, but
they wouldn't consent to it.
No.
The Ava Braun's family.
No, they just want it gone.
They just don't want to.
Yeah. They were super pissed that we even found them.
I'm sure.
Which was hard. Which was really hard.
Just hold them down, get them to spit in a bucket.
Yeah. I know.
I mean,
or pull their
need
trash and pull stuff out of there. No, I would totally not do that.
Definitely not do that.
But
I mean, that's how they caught the Golden State Killer, right? It was off of a cigarette butt.
Yeah. They
got DNA off a cigarette butt.
So history's wrong.
Wow.
For it to be black and white like that. And
fuck, man.
And again, if you go back to 1945, we needed scientists. We needed every single German electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, aerospace, anything.
Yeah.
You're on the V2 program. We want all of you, because now it's a race. It's a race. We have the bomb. Now we need delivery systems. Now we need to get to the moon. Now we need to, all of those things are real time. It's a war of dollars and a war of science. And we got all those scientists.
Yeah.
The Russians didn't.
Well, they got some.
Some, not very many.
Operation Paperclip was what brought over what Werner von Braun, who was, when you talk to Jews that were in Berlin during the time that Werner von Braun was running his rocket program there, he would hang the 5 slowest Jews in front of the rocket factory in Berlin just to give everybody motivation to work harder.
Yeah.
It was the Simon Wiesenthal Center said that if Werner von Braun was alive today, they would prosecute him for crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
He was a Nazi, straight up Nazi. And there's apologists that say, no, he was a scientist. He was forced into doing that. Okay. He's a Nazi.
Yeah.
There's photographs of him wearing Nazi garb, hanging out with Nazis. His rocket factory killed Jews. These are all undeniable facts.
Except the war ends and they're not Nazis anymore.
Exactly.
That's not how that works.
Exactly. But they were forgiven because they came over and contributed to our rocket program.
I'm not that good of a human. I don't have that in me. I don't have that okay.
It's slippery,
you're forgiven.
JRE 1928. Jimmy Corsetti reveals a mysterious structure in the Sahara that matches Plato's description of Atlantis almost perfectly.
I watched your whole series on Atlanta all day today. I've been watching for hours. I've been watching impact videos about the Atlanta structure, and so let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
So the Richat structure, I was on your show a little over a year ago and shared some details about it. To people who aren't aware, there's a location in the Western Sahara Desert of Mauritania called the Richat structure. It's also commonly referred to as the Eye of the Sahara. It is a site that most people have never seen or heard of before, which is truly peculiar because it's so spectacular. It's a site that astronauts typically use to reference from space. It is a geological feature that is said to be volcanic in nature. And what's so spectacular about this is that it just so happens to match more than a dozen striking similarities to what Plato had described as the lost ancient capital city of Atlantis.
I almost feel like we're not going to do your video justice by just talking about it, because the video's so good and you go into so many details. By the end of it, my jaw was dropped. I was like, holy shit. Like, from what you had the last time you were on the podcast to what you put out now, it's even more compelling. Like, way more compelling.
I appreciate you saying that. And I guess to anyone that wants to check it out, I have a YouTube channel called Bright Insight. It's right at the top of the page, and it says Lost Ancient Roman Map has Atlantis and Sahara Africa. And that's kind of where it goes from there, is that there is a... Actually, let me just mention real quick. Like, you're a very inquisitive individual. You have many interesting people that come and chat with you. And when I had asked you last time, you said that until you had saw my video, you'd never seen or heard of the Richat structure.
Never heard of it, yeah.
Anytime I meet somebody new, or if I'm at some party and be like, oh, what do you do? And we start chatting about YouTube, the first thing I do now is I show them a picture of the Richat. And I've never, not once, ever come across one single person that has seen or heard of it before, other than people who are familiar with what I've shared.
But there's so many things, like the where the water flows to the south, where there's clear evidence of water erosion that took place after the volcano. There's so much that points to that possibly being Atlantis.
It's spectacular. So just to run down real quick, Plato had described Atlantis as being the capital. Let me just mention that, because it was an empire said to be made up of 10 kingdoms. And what I'm focusing on is the lost capital city, which was said to be made up of concentric circles, 3 of water, 2 of land, which matches the Richat structure. It also was said to have an opening to the sea at the south. And if you look at it from satellite imagery, you can clearly see that water had ran through it.
Let's take a look at that. Tell Jamie what image to pull up so we can...
And furthermore, it was said to have mountains to the north, and you just so happen to have mountains called the Atlas mountain chain, which Atlas was said to be the very first king of Atlantis. And what's interesting is that the very first known king of Mauritania, which is where the Richat structure is located, is also... Their very first known king was also named Atlas. And though I'm not saying that that's the same individual, but what we do today is we pass down names, right? Like, people like, oh, my dad's name's John, and so is my son. And so it's another striking similarity, but it goes further than that. Like, there's geological similarities, such as the fact that Atlantis was said to be made up of red, black, and white color stone, which is another similarity you see at the Richat structure. It was said to have an abundance of gold, and that the outer walls were lined with it. And it turns out that Mauritania is loaded with gold, and not only that, the richest person ever known to exist in all of mankind is Mansa Musa of the Mali Empire, which consisted partly of modern-day Mauritania. And he was so rich from gold that he would be richer than Elon Musk and, like, Bezos combined almost. Like, many unfathomable amount of billions of dollars. So that's another similarity.
What year was this?
Oh, this is 1300s or 1400s?
There he is.
Yeah, there we are. 1312, 1337.
What a great name, too. Mansa Musa.
But the similarities don't end there. There was said to be an abundance of elephants, which is one reason why to suggest that Atlantis would have been in Africa is because, well, besides the fact that elephants are known to be throughout Africa, they used to be in Mauritania. They're unfortunately pretty much extinct there today. But another little detail that most people aren't aware of, because they think of Atlantis like, oh, it must be at the bottom of the ocean. Well, that's not exactly how Plato worded it. He did describe that the aftermath of Atlantis followed a catastrophic event involving water, is that what was left of Atlantis was reeds of grass and a shoal of mud that prevented ships from navigating to and from. And what people don't realize is that Sahara Africa, up until about 4,500 to 5,000 years ago, was totally green. It was tropical. It had the largest network, or one of the largest networks of rivers ever known to exist. It had the largest freshwater lake ever known to exist, which is Mega Lake Chad, which, just to put this into perspective, it is, if you take all the North American Great Lakes combined, that's 94,000 square miles of surface area, whereas Mega Lake Chad was 139,000.
Whoa.
Massive. Additionally, Atlantis, the capital, was said to have a river that went just north of it or next to it, and the Tamanrasset River went right through the Rishat structure, or just north of it, went all the way to the Atlas Mountains that I described, which is in modern-day Morocco. And the evidence is that it existed at that same period of time when Atlantis was said to be around 11,600 years ago prior to its destruction, up until about 5,000 years ago. So going back to my point, like a lot of people see the Sahara Desert and they don't realize that this place was unbelievably different than it is today. And one of the things that's so important is that I know some people listening will, they hear Atlantis, they think, oh, it didn't exist.
Right.
Whether it existed or not, the evidence that we're going to chat about today to show you that there is conclusive evidence, I would say, that catastrophic water erosion, that the ocean had blasted through the Sahara tens of millions of years more recently than previously known. According to the science, 56 to 66 million years ago was the time of the Trans-Saharan Seaway, which was the last time the ocean blasted through it. However, there are a few lines of evidence that say otherwise. Besides the fact that anyone that looks at the Sahara Desert through the Google Earth app, you can see fluvial striations, which is signature traits of water erosion. This is confirmed by other experts that look into these things. I like to mention Randall Carlson. Mm-hmm. He's someone that's analyzed the area and has said, yes, this is catastrophic water erosion. So one of the signature lines of evidence that suggests that the ocean blasted through it far more recently was the largest volcano in Sahara Africa is in Chad. It's Mount Kusi, and there's a lava flow that goes through it that is dated at 12,000 or so years ago. The volcano itself is supposed to be somewhere between 1.2 and 2.3 million years ago. But if you look at Mount Kusi to the south, you can see, and I don't know, Jamie, if you're able to bring up one of the photos of that mountain chain, but you can see that the water erosion cuts off that lava flow directly to the south. Yeah, keep going over. A little bit right there. Okay, so go over a couple. That is the mountain, and you can see those striations, which are signature traits of water erosion. All those white blemishes are salt, and I should point out real quick that it is a confirmed fact that much of the Sahara has surface level salt. And you see those white blemishes on that mountain? That is not cloud, that is not snow. Those are salt deposits.
And surface level salt that would have been from the ocean?
That is what I suggest, because in the middle of that caldera, you have huge patches of salt. And is it reasonable to suggest that that salt existed before the creation of that volcano? Because it seems to me that all that salt would burn up. And,
right.
and not only that, there is scientific studies that show that there are gastropods, which are sea life, that existed inside that caldera that used to be 1,000 feet deep and dried up just a few thousand years ago. So the fact that this is an 11,000-foot volcano that has salt on top of it, I would say is corresponding evidence that the ocean had once went through it. And if you go over a couple more images, Jamie, you will see far better images that show you that. Okay, so notice how it cuts off. You see to the black right here? That is a lava flow that's dated around 12,000 or so years ago. And regardless of whether the volcano or that water erosion happened 12,000 years ago or 2 million years ago, that in itself is evidence that the ocean blasted through the Sahara Desert literally 50 to 60 million years more recently than previously known. And the implications of this as far as climate science, as far as the topic of geology and cataclysms, cannot be overstated. I mean, does it not look like that lava flow was cut off by whatever type of erosion that is? Does it? I mean, that's...
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's such a clean line. And it aligns with all the water erosion marks that are to the left of it. Can you make that smaller, Jamie? Can you make it, stretch it out? Yeah.
And... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nothing. It's just like you could really clearly see that it looks like a line, like a water line passed through what was marked by the volcanic eruption.
And this is one thing I say, I'm like, it's visible to anyone that has eyes to see, but it turns out that the Sahara Desert is one of the least studied places on Earth, mostly because it's so inhospitable. It's an average of 125 degrees Fahrenheit much of the year. It is so unbelievably big that just to get out there, I mean, you need reliable aircraft or vehicles. There is most of the countries out there are, I regret to say, third world in that you just don't have supplies. It's not feasible to just travel out there with a whole team on a whim. So most of it is essentially undocumented, and it's not a site. The Sahara as a whole isn't a site that gets much attention, unfortunately.
Ben, we got to bring you in, otherwise it's going to talk forever.
No, I was going to say something that you mentioned about the origin of, I guess, Plato's description. You said it was mud and grasses was like the aftermath. It's interesting. It's the topic I've been exploring recently. Is that does match some of the translations of origin stories from the ancient Egyptians. So it's like that the Temple of Horus at Edfu, it's this amazing structure, but it's literally covered head to toe in hieroglyphs and descriptions and all these types of things. But one of the stories in the translations they do talk about is this, what they would call the original point, or the primordial mound, the primordial island. They describe it as being an island that was surrounded by water that was sinking, and essentially these reeds that were growing on it that created a falcon's perch, and then the god, it was either Horus or Horun, one of the falcon gods, alights on this perch and then gains divinity. But as part of that story, I mean, they and then he goes and forms Kemet, essentially the motherland Egypt, and it's this tale of them, I guess, their civilization moving and migrating to this new land. But they do talk about a whole stack of unknown gods and a whole culture that existed before that. It's an interesting correlation. It's something that Graham Hancock speculated about in his work with the Temple of Horus at Edfu. You know, they also have, you know, catastrophic flood myths and things like this. But it may be that whatever prior civilization, and that's might have been where the dynastic Egyptians actually got their origins from, because it seems clear that they've inherited some things from the past. That's a story they themselves tell.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that the story of Atlantis had come from Egypt.
That's one of the most bizarre parts about it. I didn't know this until just a few years ago either. It's like, oh, wait a second. Plato, his distant relative Solon had traveled there in search of knowledge because Egypt was the place to go for it. And
it was the priests of the Delta that told Solon. And they said that, so 6,000 years, or 9,000 years, prior to the time of Solon was when the sinking of this city happened. And that works out to be 9,600 BC, so 11,600 years ago, which is bang on exactly where now the geological evidence points to basically the end of the Younger Dryas cataclysms. Like we know something happened at the start at like 12,800, 900 years, and then 11,600 years ago was that end of the Younger Dryas that brought us up out of the cold spell and into the Holocene.
Isn't it crazy that that's a full 1,000 years, and we think about it in like the same time period? Like, yeah, I mean, around that time.
I know, just
we're
playing around with it.
literally 11,600 to 12,800. We're literally talking about 1,000 fucking years.
It is.
It's so much time.
It's so much time that actually, if you go from 12,008, so basically, let's say 1,200 years. The English language, Old English, is only like 1,400 years, and Modern English is only like 400 or 500 years. So this is such a wide, a long period of time that we weren't even speaking the same language that in that same 1,000 years ago. When you think of it like that, it's
nuts.
A different world.
It's nuts. And if you think about the people that lived 1,000 years ago and how they lived.
JRE number 1897. Graham Hancock suggests the Great Pyramid may have been built using a lost technology humanity no longer understands.
Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza is probably the most stunning of all these ancient structures. And the stones are immense, and some of them were cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away. How do you think they did that?
Well, some of them, the granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its roof are the ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
Stunning detail.
Stunning detail. Those blocks on the roof of the King's Chamber weigh 70 tons each. Now, Egyptologists will tell you that they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. Well, maybe if you're just at ground level, that will do. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the King's Chamber, that won't do at all. I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology. And it was this ancient apocalypse 12,800 years ago that wiped that from the human memory banks almost completely. Not entirely completely because there were survivors, but removed most of it. Randall will tell you, sea level rise, it creates a powerful high energy zone. Anything that was existing on those flooded coastlines has just been pounded to hell. I mean, talk about it, Randall.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot more energetic than now. I mean, imagine your sea level rising at 3 or 4 times at least faster than we've seen rise in the last century. And within there, juxtaposed are these episodes of very rapid sea level rise. So you're talking about a very energetic intertidal zone. And anything that's there, short of large megalithic blocks, is going to be utterly obliterated by the time the process is through. And I think that this is one of the things that, you know, the archaeologists and the prehistorians, people are looking at that, have failed to take into account the severity of these events we're talking about. Because the question always is, where are the artifacts? Where's the pottery? Where is the evidence that this civilization existed? And I have 2 responses to that. One, you don't realize the extent of the total remodeling of this planetary surface that took place. Because, I mean, we could get into some of the stuff here. I have tons of images where I think maybe we'll get a chance to pull up a couple of really awesome drone footage here before we're done. But once you begin to wrap your head around this, you go, really? You know, it's like, imagine that you drop an atomic bomb on a city and it completely obliterates it. And then a short while later, you drop another one on the same place. What's going to be left? And then 10,000 years, 20,000 years goes by. What are you going to what are you going to find? What are you going to look for? You know, it's going to be just rubble that gets reincorporated just into the geological stratum, and it's going to be very difficult to differentiate, for example, from what's called a conglomeratic rock, which is basically we have just a huge jumble of broken rock cemented together. Right? Now, within there could be all kinds of stuff that's not even recognized as being artificial in the sense that humans had anything to do with it. The other thing is when we talk about these ancient technologies, if we're only looking for a mere reflection of ourselves, we could overlook it completely, because I think there's evidence that exists now. I mean, some modern researchers whose work has been buried or suppressed, I think we're getting very close to rediscovering some of the things that our ancient ancestors were up to. And maybe this would be worth a whole show in itself. We could dive into this, and I don't want to get into that today.
But what kind of technologies are you talking about?
Well, I shouldn't really get into that.
Get into it.
Get into
Come
it,
on.
Randall.
We got to get into it.
Okay, well.
We've opened the door, sir.
Okay. Well, okay.
The passing of the HDMI cable.
The passing.
A sacred moment.
Well, there are people out there now who have been working on trying to rediscover that. And again, I don't want to digress too much into this now, because I would really rather be able to give a whole treatment of it, and it might kind of derail us a little bit from this. But there are people who've been working on these things for decades now, basically in secret. And I've had the privilege of talking to some of these people over the last 6 or 7 years. And right now, as we're speaking, there's a group of people who are basically going to open source a whole lot of stuff in the next 3 months, so it can never get suppressed again. And that's why I'd like to come back and talk in more detail.
Well, I'd love to have you come back and talk about it, but we got to talk about it a little bit now.
Okay. Well, there's a laboratory right now in the Maldives that's been building prototypes using these technological principles, which are based on implosion rather than explosion. And the inspiration for this...
Tesla's ideas are part of it, I think you mentioned.
Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. Yes, Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. So is, I don't know if you ever, Victor Schauberger, who did the work with water and discovered, look at, Jamie, could you look up Victor? Oh, I have the cable now, don't I?
Take it back. Let me find a video.
Well, no. Let me pull something up here, and
I think the key thing is we're looking at technologies that are not the same as ours.
Yes.
And that's
Yes,
partly
that's the
why
point.
archaeologists can't see them, because they're looking for us in the past, and they're not open to the possibility that there are whole other kinds of technology that could be used.
Right.
I always go back to the ancient Egyptian traditions that speak of priests chanting as these huge blocks were lifted into the air. Were they using some kind of sound effect, some kind of use of sound that was able to manipulate matter? We know that sound can manipulate matter, as a matter of fact, but they're lifting these blocks. Again and again, it appears in ancient Egyptian traditions. The notion that we could lift huge blocks with sound seems absurd to archaeologists, and yet it's there in the traditions of the Egyptologists. And what Randall's talking about now is people who are working on a whole alternative path of technology, and maybe that's a rediscovery of the kind of technologies that were used by a lost civilization.
I think that's what's important about what you're saying, is that we have this very limited idea of technology based on what we've experienced.
Yeah.
But if you had anatomically similar human beings that lived for thousands and thousands of years.
Stuff just keeps on getting older.
If you think about the amount of progress that we've achieved as modern humans just in the last few hundred years,
Yeah.
if you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology, one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and the like that we experience
Leverage,
today.
mechanical advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
And that may begin to explain these otherwise inexplicable monuments that have survived.
Jamie, do I need... There we go. This is the work of Nikola Tesla. And he was... Again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to talking about this.
Okay.
But this is... this was the inspiration. You know, his work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall?
Yes. And again, I don't want to get into it today, but like, here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. Mm-hmm. And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies. Everything vibrates. Have you ever, like if we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, bzz, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. And I think that's the basic idea of what we're looking at here. And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So we're now free to talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. I think it would be a good idea to get me back on here. We can look at it. I'm going to lay this on Graham so he can look at it too, because I really want to get Graham's feedback on this.
I mean, would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
Yeah.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them? Whoa,
Yes.
what is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said.
Nice.
So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda, the car manufacturer in Japan, is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff. And it's amazing.
And what would be the fuel?
Well, plasmoids. Plasmoids, as it says here, are donut or toroidal-shaped clusters of net protons or net electrons that once captured and placed into a toroidal orbit are capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy within their self-generated and structured electromagnetic containment field. Plasmoids, in effect, function as an atomic battery that can be self-charging due to its ability to convert matter to available clean energy. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about today.
At least what's promising is that there is some, at least, research or understanding.
And it's actually quite mature at this point. And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on this same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go the next.
Now, what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe for people that are curious about this and maybe even skeptical, consider the massive change that nuclear power provided us. Whereas before the 1940s, this was unheard of.
Yeah.
This even the concept of it. And all of a sudden now we have nuclear power, nuclear weapons, the most profound power known to man currently.
God help us, it's a power for use by adults, but unfortunately it's delinquent children who are leading our world right now. The leaders of our planet, the politicians out there, they're just complete arseholes. I can't think of any of them who I feel any respect for whatsoever. And it's they who are in charge of this frightening, terrifying technology. We just aren't mature enough as a civilization to manage technology like that. You have to get that level of maturity.
JRE number 2366, Sam Tripoli discusses claims that early aircraft capable of extreme speeds may have existed before 1865.
They've had crafts since before the Civil War. They were building crafts that went 200 miles an hour.
Okay, who's they, and where'd
Well,
you hear
the
about
US
this?
government-
Before the Civil War.
Yeah.
So before 1865.
Yeah.
They had crafts.
Yes.
That could go 200 miles an hour in the air.
Yes.
Who made them?
You could look it up. Pre-Civil War aircrafts. There was a bunch of like German scientists in America that were working with the U.S. government.
So this predates Orville Wright.
I'm just telling you, bro.
Right, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know dates.
I think it does, right? Isn't Orville and Wilbur Wright, isn't that the end of the 1800s? When was that? Well, you know what? I love that. You can just ask your phone. I'll ask my phone.
I love it. Go on ChatGPT.
When did Orville and Wilbur Wright fly the first plane? 1903. So you're telling me that in 1865,
Yep. I'm telling you.
In
I've
1865,
done
they had
multiple shows
flying
on it.
crafts. Well, as long as you've done multiple shows on it, it must
Brother,
be true.
I'm the truth, okay?
Where the fuck did you hear this?
I had two guys, Joseph P. Farrell was on, and he's like amazing. And he was breaking down that there were...
What is Joseph P. Farrell's area of expertise?
Hidden history. He does a lot in religion, particularly.
Is he self-taught?
No, he's really a great interview, man.
I believe you.
I
But
mean,
is he self-taught? Does he have like a
Will you look it up real quick? Yeah.
Education in this stuff, or is it just...
He's written like 1,000 books on it.
1,000?
That's a lot of books, dude. I can barely read one book. I'm stuck on Alexander II right now.
And what is he saying?
He's saying that in the pre-Civil War and during the Civil War, they had crafts that were traveling at 200 miles an hour.
Okay, and
you can find pictures of it on the internet.
well, as long as he has pictures.
Well,
on
there's
the internet,
drawings, dude.
again.
Someone took time.
As long as it's drawings.
Come
it
on,
must be
man.
real.
Well, Jamie, you're leaving me here. Hang
No,
in here.
he'll get you. He'll get you. It's got to be legit.
It's there.
It sounds so legit.
Will you look up
Why
tinfoil
would
hat,
they
Joseph
wait
P. Farrell?
so many years before they flew the first very primitive plane that could barely get off the ground, and credit those guys with developing the first plane?
You didn't say plane. You said aircraft.
Oh, that's true.
Thank you.
Oh, so is it like a blimp?
I'm trying to dig down.
Listen to Jamie getting all pissy.
I'm just saying, it could not be a plane.
Mom, Dad, stop.
It's true. It's true. No, it's a good point. Yeah, it could be a blimp, right? Like when they first start doing blimps. When did that start?
Well, wasn't that the whole point of like Led Zeppelin, that they didn't want people getting on blimps, so they like crashed that shit? Everyone thinks I'm crazy. You guys think I'm nuts. I'm just telling you, bro. Everything's a psyop.
I love it. I want to hear more psyops. I'd rather go that way than the other way. That nothing's a psyop. I want to hear that everything's a psyop.
Everything's a psyop. Dude, someone should do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television. Yeah. And then you go, what about the 5G they're cranking up? What about what they're spraying in the skies? That now is an acceptable fact that they're doing geoengineering of our skies. Like 5 years ago, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist. Now there's laws being passed about it. And you put all that together, you're like, that's how people get sick.
It's weird, like even cloud seeding, which is legal. Like you can seed the clouds and you can make it rain, but like, how exact is this science? Like how you know what I mean? Like what happens if you cause floods like they did in Dubai? Did you see that shit?
Yeah, well, camels just flying, flowing down the river.
Fucking Lamborghinis drowning.
Oh,
yeah,
poor Lamborghinis.
Right. I found something.
Tell me something.
Nothing about 200 miles an hour, but I found multiple things talking about aircrafts, including helicopters used by the South.
The South?
The Confederate, yeah.
The Confederate Army.
Do you mind if I get my phone for a second just to see if I can find it?
I found it because I was digging through the transcript.
Bro, they had the
of that
General
podcast,
Lee
Sam.
helicopter.
Here's the transcript where he's talking about the history with his friend Beasley or something like that.
Who was saying this?
The guy Sam was talking about.
What is his name again?
This is his podcast.
What's his name again, Sam?
Joseph P. Farrell.
Yeah. During the point of the Civil War with the airship mystery, my friend Walter Bosley has written an interesting book called Origins about the black projects, world, and airships that existed in this country prior to the Civil War. But it didn't say anything about the speed.
Yeah, we talked about it. It was either him or the 2 episodes later they talked about how it went 200 miles an hour.
Airships.
Lincoln went to Congress to get funding, or is trying to get funding for some of this. There's a whole thing here about the balloon corps of the Army back to the Civil War.
Isn't Lincoln another one that they got rumors about?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fellas.
Closeted, dog.
Or maybe like everybody did it back then.
They
That's
also
what
didn't
I'm
have
thinking.
a lot of heat back then.
So they just fucked?
The thing with the Lincoln stuff, they just said that they were like,
come over here,
sleeping
Bob. I'm
together in
cold.
the same bed. And
No,
whatever.
that's true. That's true. It's probably not that weird for us, but
Back then it was like you got excommunicated.
Another
But
one
yeah.
of the airships. They're calling them airships, is what they were calling
And
them.
there's a certain
so is that supposedly a thing where a person could get in?
Oh, yeah. So the boats with airbags is what I've been seeing. Other flying machines here.
Okay, so what that looks like is like sails, right? Can you show me that thing again? Look at that, Sam. That's like sails, like a sailboat.
But it's even
but
crazier
attached
than
to
that.
a base. So do you just jump off a cliff with that? How do you get that bitch off the ground?
One of them was describing, and I think it's in this, there was a traveling gas thing that went along with it so it could keep refueling right here. See, a mobile gas generator. It was accompanied by a wagon consisting of
Okay.
the necessary.
Oh my God!
See if you can look up
That's crazy.
Tinfoil Hat 901. That's the episode, and there's a picture of the craft that they had made.
So they're just refueling these balloons with gas.
No, but these aren't even balloons, dude. It's like literal like aircrafts that could go
Aircrafts.
200 miles an hour.
Okay, what do they
So
look like?
so the reason I bring that up is because if we go, they got these silver cigar things. Like, think about how long ago that was.
Oh, you mean that bug?
Okay, bug,
The bug
sphere,
that
whatever
flew
you want
real
to do.
fast
Yeah,
in
I
front
mean,
of the fucking
whatever helps
Frisbee?
everybody sleep at night, you know. But
Listen,
they
man.
got the tech. That's it. That's what they had in 2000 in the pre-Civil War. Walter Bosley, he came out, he talked about it.
Who drew that?
You can find those on the internet. I don't know who specific. The guy's name's up in the corner.
That thing can go 200 miles an hour?
Yep.
What's it powered by?
Oh, those are that's it. It's guys with NYMZA Arrows and the secret shit. Yeah, I'm dude. I'm I'm retarded, right?
I do now. I want to know what that
Go to
thing is.
images.
What
see.
what powered
Yeah,
that thing?
these are them. These are the crafts that they had that they were working on.
So a person gets inside that fucking
Yep,
thing?
Yep. Look at that. And then there's a
Wait
propeller
a minute.
back there.
Who was working on this? The South?
The North.
The North.
The North and
Oh, I
Germans.
thought you said the South.
I did. And
You
one of
said
these
the
things
South.
It said the South had some sort of helicopter. Or something.
Oh, the South had a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but this thing is different.
Yeah.
Whatever this is.
Yeah.
So, is it a bunch of fans?
I don't know.
It looks like a bunch of fans, right?
or propellers,
Right.
And they had that way back in the 1850s, dude. Look at those guys.
You really think that thing went 200 miles an hour? I think somebody lied.
Maybe, but they had that's what they said.
200 miles an hour. Step
But just-
right up.
Just think of what kind of dominance you could have at that time with that kind of craft.
Yeah.
Moving that quickly.
I think they back then they used to thought if you went that fast you were going to explode.
Right.
Like you would melt.
Yeah, they used
It's
to think
witchcraft.
that. Well, they thought that before the trains,
But
right?
again,
Cars and
Germany's
trains.
involved. Germany basically funded the North when they needed money because Lincoln was issuing greenbacks. I have one at my house. I bought a Lincoln greenback, $20 greenback. It's pretty sweet. I bought it for I forget how much I paid for it, but yeah, that's like one of my favorite things I have. But
What is this, Jamie?
Oh, these pictures on this fucking.
The guy's throwing a baby.
I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
sacrifice.
Sacrificing a child for the air gods. So, do you think that most of the UFO sightings that people see are U.S. government crafts?
Yep.
So do you think it's back engineered stuff, or do you think we invented all the technology?
I think
in
we
those
worked
crafts?
with entities that give us technology. I mean, it goes back to what we talked before about, Admiral Byrd and, that whole thing where I think it was Eisenhower made a deal. And I told you this, and that's where the missing 401 comes from. All the people who disappear in the force, that there's really weird connections between all of them. They tend to be of German descent, of high IQ, and they just disappear in the forest. And Eddie Bravo has a really interesting theory about it, about how there's all these movies about all these people dying in forests and everyone dying in the ocean, to scare you from going out there. Like, I'm afraid of sharks. Like, I don't want to go out in the ocean, but what's going on in the ocean? We see stuff coming out of the ocean all the time. What's going on way deep down there?
Well, sharks are real.
Sharks
and
are
you
real.
should be scared of them.
I am
and the
scared
ocean
of
is
them.
unforgiving.
And alligators.
And it's a rational fear. Having
Right.
a fear of the ocean is very
Yeah,
rational.
but Jaws makes this thing boom right in your
Right.
face, right?
Dope movie.
When probably before that nobody was thinking about sharks.
Well, Jaws is based on a real event, right?
These things could apparently go fast because they use an anti-gravity fuel called NB gas.
What? What?
That
they had anti-gravity gas in in the Civil War?
Yeah, so there apparently was something, this guy, Delachaux, the guy who was credited with the drawings, he was in something called the Sonora Aero Club. I also add that they found all this in a junk pile. He moved somewhere in Texas in 1850, and they found it in the 60s, 1960s.
Yeah, and they were working with German scientists.
Wow. NB gas for lift and propulsion.
So it's like some sort of, I guess, secret aero club or a bunch of guys that were into that's what they're, I guess.
But what does that mean, an anti-gravity fuel? I'd like to have someone read that knows what the fuck those words mean.
I'm not even sure if it's real. You know,
it
was just
doesn't
written
sound
on
like a fuel could turn.
Well, because we do it based on our
stop gravity.
timelines and this notion that we came from cavemen, and you know that.
No, I don't think that.
I think there's been multiple civilizations that just keep getting reset and reset and reset.
I think that's true. Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree with that. I think there's a lot of really compelling evidence that shows that. Have you seen Jesse Michael's new video?
No.
He's got a video on those tridactyl mummies in Peru where he went down there and had them CAT scanned and had them. Dude.
Tridactyl? Like, are we
Okay.
talking like.
What is? Let's go to that. We'll
Let's
go to
just say
that
this
right
is
after this.
ammonia gas, pretty much.
Ammonia gas.
Well, we'll get back to
Does it say it's bullshit?
I bailed.
I mean, it's like, how is it going to defy gravity? Unless you're talking about like just lift, like a helium balloon. Like if that's kind of anti-gravity gas, if you think about it, sort of. But that's not what I think of when I think of anti-gravity. I think of like space tech that allows you to like shoot through giant distances instantaneously, like we hear about from these crafts.
But if let's just say this is real, and I do believe it's real, 100%, like what do they have now? I mean, it's so far down the line. I mean, that's so long ago. That's like 175 years ago, the technology that they could
This
have.
part, though, is
it's true.
interesting about this club. I don't know how many says flight enthusiasts in the mid 1800s there would have been. You know, people would have been interested in flying, I guess, because they couldn't do it. But
The Nazi Bell, which is a big part of World War II that nobody ever talks about.
Right. That was like a flying craft that they were trying to develop, right?
Right.
So the Nazis were apparently trying to come up with a bunch of different shapes for crafts. One was a bell, right? One was kind of flying saucer-like, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole part in like.
Here's
have
the
you ever heard of
question.
Martin Bormann?
I always wonder. That's pretty dope looking. I always wonder when they talk about stuff like that, like the Nazis trying to make a flying saucer. Was that because they were trying to emulate something that they had seen, or that there was some sort of a hidden historical record of? You know, because if only the people that are at the head of the military today, or the head of these military contractors, really know whether or not there's back-engineered UFOs. If there are, they have them, and if they don't know about them, they probably don't exist, or the other companies have them, right?
Yeah.
So you got to wonder, what were the Nazis doing? Were they trying to emulate something that they knew existed? And when did governments, if there really is a real phenomenon, if this isn't just total gaslighting and propaganda and bullshit to get you to believe that aliens are out there because they've got like crazy high tech that's 50, 60, 70 years past where we really think it is. Both of those things are hard to believe, right? It's hard to believe that the government would be able to hide the kind of whatever kind of program that would develop a genuine anti-gravity engine that could move through space and time, that could go through the ocean, it makes the device transmedium, creates like a portal around it where it exists completely independently of everything that we're experiencing in 3D space. It just goes through stuff. The idea that they have that, they've kept it secret, seems kind of crazy.
I don't think so.
It seems. I'm not saying it's impossible.
What I'm saying by that is like you hear famous stories of people whose fathers worked at Area 51 and he never once told them what they did there.
Oh yeah, people keep their mouth shut.
People
and they
keep
also
their mouth
know
shut.
that they have to keep their mouth shut because if you don't, you can get in real trouble.